Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me again on another episode of Powerhouse You. I am your host, Jacqueline Harris, and I am accompanied by Bryce Grandison.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. We
All
good.
right, perfect, perfect.
Yep.
Bryce is with Landon Park Capital, and he is actually here to give us a little bit of background and experience on what he does in the commercial real estate space and give us a little bit on his background and knowledge of the industry. So, without further ado, Bryce, feel free to let us know a little bit about yourself and
Yeah.
what you contribute to commercial real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, Jacqueline, appreciate you for inviting me to be on here. When you first connected with me, I was like, absolutely. Let's get it done. I love just talking to people, sharing with people. That's a part of who I am, but also too being able to get in front and say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing, and this is the company that I'm working for is always a pleasure. So thank you. Man, a little bit about me. I'm Bryce Grandison from Oakland, California. I got the Bay Area in the background because I was born in San Francisco, raised in Oakland all my life, so that's where I'm from through and through. But that's who made me who I am today. I've been playing sports all my life. Leading different teams. High school sweethearts with my wife. We both from the Bay Area. Came down here to Southern California in 2017, right after we got married, and then from there, just hit the ground running. I was in school still. I went to school out in the Inland Empire at Azusa Pacific University. And then from there, graduated and said, hey, look, came out, right out of 2020. I needed a job, ended up landing a job at Target, in which I spent the next couple of years there, focused a lot on, operations and efficiency, doing different roles there, but always knew I had a love for real estate. And so figured, hey, look, man, one day, honestly, crazy story. I was just driving. It was one of my days off. I was driving and just happened to pass by a sign. You always your brokerage signs to say, oh, leasing here, or I'm selling this here. And at the end of it, the person's name had the little comma behind it, and it said MRED and MBA. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know, something went off in my head. I was just like, I think I need to go back to school. And I'm like, is there a master's of real estate? Like, I'm like, oh, that's got to be a master's of real estate. I didn't even know, that was a thing. Push come to shove, I said, hey, look, I got to put some of this passion that I have for real estate and go put some technical skills behind it. So, ended up going to Chapman University, just graduated from there recently. And then, next thing, created a relationship with my boss now, Malcolm Johnson at Landon Park Capital, and ended up there, starting back up in May of this year. So been there ever since. I do asset management for us at Landon Park Capital. I do all things just trying to make sure that, we keeping values high, keeping occupancy up, and making sure that we're always seeing, what's the next opportunity to make sure we can impact the lives of our residents. So
Right.
that's a bit about me.
When you say residents, what's your specialty
Yeah. So,
commercial real estate?
yeah, at Langdon Park Capital, we are a multifamily investment firm that primarily specializes in underserved communities. Underserved communities historically have been Black and Latino communities, to be specific. Our primary place that we invest in is down here in Southern California in the LA County area, really looking to get active up in the Bay Area where I'm from. So I'm super excited to be able to give it, my ones and twos on, where we should go up there. But then we're also active in the DMV, Washington, D.C. area. So that's a bit of what we do. Our main focus in driving is driving not only, risk-adjusted returns for our investors, but also really trying to drive social impact for the residents who live in our community. So we are very, distinguished about, using residents and not tenants. They're not just transactional, people who live in our buildings and in our communities, but they're our residents. We take care of, we try to take care of them in the best way we can by being, very in tune with the things that can help benefit their lives, like, resident services between, financial literacy courses or help with groceries or after school programs or whatever it is, I'm saying? On top of that, providing just digging into a space. Hey, look, like, let's make sure that, there's no trash right in front of our building, or there's no, kind of, dead end cars that's just been sitting there for eons of time. So we really just try to find value in, making sure that we're giving dignity to our communities that we invest in that have historically have been, Black and Latino. So
Yes, which is a good thing.
yeah,
We thank you. We appreciate you. And if
absolutely,
you travel the streets of LA, you
man,
definitely know that cleanliness is definitely something that we have to address, and
for
making sure
sure.
that the people live in our communities feel safe where they're at. They
Right,
think that the streets are clean, and so it's an important part when it comes to commerce too, and making sure that people feel safe and secure when they come into our neighborhoods. So we
absolutely.
appreciate you for that. We appreciate you for, being a tool, and, finding people a place to stay, lay their head at night, and feel
Yep,
comfortable in doing so, especially in the
absolutely.
underserved communities. So
Hmm.
you said that you moved out here from Oakland a couple years ago,
Yep.
and you saw a sign and
Hmm.
decided, I want to get into commercial real estate. So it was a dream, and you're like, okay, let's take this to a reality.
Yeah.
How long did it take you from that, okay, aha moment, to the time you're like, okay, let's do it?
So I fell in love with real estate, back in undergrad. So this had to be more 2018, 2019. And I love the idea of being able to invest in something and get passive income and then get my time back.
Mhm.
Between, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, listening to different podcasts like Bigger Pockets, I just got fixated on, oh my goodness, I want to go in on this real estate thing. But all I had exposure to and thought process behind was just, all right, I'm gonna buy a duplex, I'm gonna buy a fourplex, and I'm gonna eventually try to scale and grow. And then, I'll replace all my day job money. Like that was the only thought that I ever had of like, what real estate was. Um, until like I said, I came across a sign that said that there was an MRED, and I'm just like, wait, what's that? Like you could get a master's in real estate? Like, okay, cool, boom. I want to learn more. You know what I'm saying? I love this, and I'm recognizing that like this is my passion, but okay, I need something else. You know what I'm saying, to really kind of make sure that I'm on top of my game about it. And you asked
Yes.
how long that was. That night I went home and told my wife like, hey, look, I think I want to go back to school. And so she was like, yeah. And that was at a pivotal time in my life in which I was really trying to figure out, what I wanted to do. I knew Target wasn't it, and I knew real estate was, but I didn't know how to get there. And I was bouncing around. Me and my wife was just talking about yesterday. I was in a place in which I was trying to bounce around, finding what career could I get that could make me money that I could invest in real estate on the side. And my wife one day was just like, hey, look, like, why don't you just go straight into real estate? Like, you don't have to skip the step of like, I'm just going to get money to then get into it. Just go straight into it there. And, I found, literally I just was, researching schools that this had to be in like, December, must have been November, December 2021. And then boom, I went all in. Before I know it, I was into my master's program at Chapman University. I got into the program on January 2022. So I was one of the first people in to my program that came in and said, "Hey, look, this is what I want to do." So, long and short, it didn't take me long. I'm somebody in which, hey, look, once I get on it, what I'm saying, I'm gonna go forward and I'm gonna get right in. So, yeah,
Yeah, and then I can say too, and congratulations on your accomplishment in making the
appreciate it.
switch like that to get
Yeah.
that done. And then
Mhm.
I was introduced to you because we're both a part of a group called
Yeah.
African American Real Estate Professionals, and you recently were involved with a panel discussion.
Yeah.
So, what again, this is a place to congratulate you and give you your flowers now, because
Appreciate it. Thank you.
the lack of diversity in the industry, but we have, places like AAREP where you come and you talk
Hmm.
about your knowledge and experience in the industry. So can you give me a little bit of background for the viewers, and let them know what the panel discussion was and your involvement with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, crazy story, just a little bit of backstory about my relationship with AAREP. I don't know how I came across AAREP, but it had to be sometime in 2022. Long and short, got connected, and this is probably be a little bit about my story, moving forward, but I got connected with Kim and then was just, making a name for myself. My first my first AREP event was last year, December 2022. I went to the sneaker ball, and I just started coming to everything after that. And lo and behold, I'm saying, some months later, I just kept being consistent, kept being myself. And Kimberly Brown said, I think I want you to be our next generation ambassador, I'm saying, for AREP. And what that means ultimately for me is I want to round up the next generation of African American real estate professionals in LA, in which, all around, my age, my level of experience, within, your first, 10 years of experience in the business, in which we're all young trying to figure it out and be in commercial real estate. And both Kimberly Brown and my boss Malcolm, they brought me an opportunity to say, hey, I think I want you guys to I want you to host some kind of event with young people. And that was it. That's all the way that they left it. And I was just like, all right, for sure, I'll figure it out. And long and the short, came through.
I gotta interrupt you real fast. Don't you love it when you just give
Man, it's just like, hey, figure it out. And
no
I'm just like,
background, right?
nothing, so
That's yes, that's what it's all about. Go ahead, but
man, yeah,
I've been there.
for sure. And they were just like, hey, I want you to throw something in September with young people. Hey, we could use our office. I'm just like, okay. So I put together, a thought, and I was just like, hey, I want to get young people in a room in which we could all talk about some of the highs, the lows, the pitfalls, the forks in the road to look for being young and black in commercial real estate. And so I put together, a panel with about, three or four other peers, specifically, in AREP, that I feel like, they all had something valuable to say about sharing their experience. And I just hosted and moderated the panel. I wasn't even talking because I also too wanted to learn. I'm saying, I'm fresh in this business. I got knowledge, I got experience. I got some confidence about myself, but they can be able to speak to so many things that I haven't seen or learned before. So it was dope just to be able to have them in it. Some key takeaways. First and foremost, I just want to give a big shout out to all of my panelists who were there. Amir Jackson from Oak Tree Capital, Janae Hillier from she's now with Chappelle Properties, Kendall Cooper, who is with April Housing, and then Jonathan Wheat, who is with right now I'm blanking on Jonathan's insurance company, but not long and the short, Epic Brokers Insurance. Sorry. But long and short, they were able to share so much experience about, some of the highs and lows, the peaks, the perks, some of the things to look out for. One thing that Janae shared in the panel is she was like, hey, we got to stay in this business. We can't give up too quickly. We, sometimes we're like, okay, I don't know enough, or I didn't have this experience growing up. So now when I get into it, I'm feeling intimidated. Like, no, we got to keep staying here. We got to keep learning. There's so much money, value, and legacy that we can create here in this business that we have to keep passing on to the next generations. And if we quit, being young and black in this business, then the next group, won't be able to experience some of the greatness that we know and now have knowledge of. So it was a dope experience all the way around. Had maybe 60, 70 people just in a room, really enjoying each other. It was an awesome night. The sun was setting. We was in a dope background. Our office is super awesome. So it was great. It was a cool experience for sure.
I like about our AREP events is they
Yeah,
are in some of the best places where you
for
just walk
sure.
in like, okay, like you really feel yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
It creates a sense of pride
for
in what you
sure.
do as an African American and as a professional. And not only that, you get to be in a room with other people that look like yourself. And there's a lack of diversity in the industry, altogether. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons being is knowledge. Not a lot of people know that a lot of the jobs are available in these industries because they're not around the
Yeah.
people that talk about them,
Yep.
and some of them kind of, and some of us, I should say, we end up in this industry by accident, a love that just turned into passion over time, but
Right.
it took time and,
Yep.
trying to go over the barrier of entry into
Mm-hmm.
getting here. But, like yourself and me, once you're in it and you're like,
Man.
yes, if I'm not doing this, I don't know what I'll be
I don't
doing.
know. Yeah,
And
for
then,
sure.
with that, and then knowing about the lack of diversity and something that you and I have in common is our
Mm-hmm.
passion to want to introduce the industry to other people,
Right.
educate other people. And
Yep.
one of the ways that we have to do that is by marketing and advertising ourselves,
Right.
and including branding, to make
For
sure that we
sure.
get our face and our name out
Yep.
there. So, when it comes to things like that, we know that you're branding yourself within the AREP community. You
Hmm.
have your job in asset management, you're helping the streets, you're helping the community. Now,
Right.
what other ways are you going about getting your face out there, your business out there, and letting people know that you're here, this is what you do, and they should jump on board, or whatever your brand is, and how whatever your brand stands for?
Yeah. That's dope. That's a really good question. For me, I think that um, my brand has been what's got me ultimately to this point, honestly. And what I mean by my brand is, I started off, so interesting. Every piece of the puzzle really starts to set up something or other. So I graduated undergrad 2019, and way back then, I took a like a personal branding class, I think, or something along that line. But one of my professors was very adamant about us developing our LinkedIn. And I'm talking about this was back in 2019. And kind of, once I started going to being at Target, like I didn't really get too much into it, but I don't know, some kind of light bulb must have went off in my head once I got to a point in which I was starting to flirt with going back to school and go getting my master's, to where I said, okay, I got to get back in it. I got to get back in on this. I got to figure out, what's going on in here. So ultimately just started to promote all the things that I was doing, through LinkedIn. And LinkedIn became my place in which people started to know me. I mean, to this point, to this day, I got OGs in the business who would be like, "Yo, you the LinkedIn kid," you the LinkedIn guy, and I'm just like, "Yo, that's me." I mean, I got this point to, I got a dot card in which I pull it out, on somebody, boom, hey, connect with me on LinkedIn. But that was a series of time. I mean, and I think that was a lot of what helped me get to the point of, hey, when I started going to school, and I put on a first day of school, getting my master's degree post, through LinkedIn. That, that boomed. Hey, here's what I'm doing through school. Here's what I've got going on. Here I'm spending a whole weekend learning, Excel modeling and this and that. Hey, I got a whole thing, going on here. I'm doing it. Like, it started to just become like, oh my goodness, who is this kid? There's so much traction about him and his name and what's going on, to the point in which, when I get in front of Kimberly Brown and I meet her for the first time, she feel like she know me, and she feel like, oh my goodness, I gotta have you do something. I gotta have you be, be somebody for us. So it just naturally started to matriculate. I'm reaching out to people through LinkedIn. Hey, I'm here, doing X, Y, and Z. Is there anything I could learn? Is there, So like, always trying to find out, my biggest brand piece through my LinkedIn was like, hey, I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm trying to develop. And that still to this day is like, I'm always promoting, in which, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what we got going on, here's I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to develop. And so that's been a lot of my brand. And once you start staying consistent with that, people start to know you for it. And next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay, I know, bro. I seen him on LinkedIn. He's doing a lot of cool stuff. My mother-in-law is the best too, and she always, is promoting my stuff on LinkedIn too. And so it's always dope. It just starts to become, who you are.
And one thing I tell people all the time is not on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
'Cause, you have your platform for fun, like Facebook, Instagram,
Right.
TikTok. All those are areas where you just go to just chill with your friends, double tap, whatever.
Right.
But if you are interested in making real connections with other professionals and
Truly.
people in the industry, you follow them on LinkedIn, and it becomes motivation too, because you're
For
like,
sure.
okay, I see what they're doing. It's possible. And
Yep.
then, it gave me an opportunity to find, being that there's not a lot of people, again, when it comes to diversity, it's not a lot of us that we see in this industry. So you have to
Right.
cast a wider net in order
For
to see the
sure.
other people that are doing the same things that we're doing. So
Right.
with LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to connect with people like me, Sean, who's in Chicago, or
Yep.
Moses, I believe, I know his name. I believe he's in Chicago as well, or learn more about, companies like T. Dallas Smith in
Yep.
Atlanta. In Atlanta, you learn about
Yeah,
these companies through LinkedIn,
for
and you
sure.
other people that are trying to do the same things in their neighborhoods. You meet developers in San Francisco, and you're like, okay, they're even though it's less like that
Yeah,
1 to 3%, we're there, and
for
then
sure.
with building a brand, and you looking for areas of improvement and everything. And like you said, the advice that you gave was, you
Hmm.
know, getting LinkedIn accounts, because that's also help with your branding and your marketing and
Yep.
connections. And shout out to Kimberly Brown too for,
Yeah.
being such a force when it comes to connecting people with, AREP and in the real estate industry. And she was actually on a panel of
Hmm.
mine last year, which
Nice.
I am will forever be grateful for. So shout out to
Absolutely.
Kim, AREP LA president. So what with that being said, when it comes to branding and everything, what other
Yeah.
advice would you give, to anybody looking to pursue a career in commercial real estate, asset management, or anything real estate related?
Yeah, that's a good one. A couple things. I had thought about a couple different questions. One was just like how would I kind of talk about the importance of personal branding, but then two, what kind of advice just people growing, like you just said, growing in their career. First one is first one I would say is just learn the market. You got to be very you got to be very abreast to knowing what's going on in the macro environment. I just had a young cat who called me yesterday. He's in undergrad, and he's like, he's got a meeting with my former, what I'm saying, with my former group in a couple weeks, and he was just like, hey, what should I know? I said, hey man, bottom line, know the market, know the macro environment, know what's really going on in the big picture of real estate and why it's happening. Know the things like the 10-year treasury, be familiar with an inverted yield curve, be understanding of what it's like uh, to see where we're at in the current market. You know what I'm saying? Where interest rates at right now, not necessarily just to hone in on where they're at, but be familiar with like, okay, how do they compare to the 10-year versus the 5-year versus the 7-year treasury, to now then you could be able to actually have a conversation with somebody who, no, you can't necessarily know and have the amount of experience that somebody who has, 15, 20 years in the business does, but at least you could be able to follow along with the conversation. And I think that when I say learn the market, I can also tie that to, I'm a big proponent of going back to school. That's just me. I know a lot of people are very much like, no experience, go for experience, go for this. But I'm like, for me at the same time, I coupled experience in the workplace with my schooling at the same time. And I had a dual, I had a dual process of being able to be that much more abreast into the market. So I would say know the market, be very consistent with your brand. Like, who are you? How do you show up? What do you wear? What do you present yourself like? How do you speak? What's your attitude? What are you like? Are you the same, on your LinkedIn as you comparison to, to your real life? When somebody meets you, do they feel the same vibe? I would say just be very consistent with your brand and who you are. And then lastly, um, I would just say, man, always get out there. You got to network. You know what I'm saying? You got to network. You got to be around people. Just this past week, had privilege to be able to attend the ULI conference, and so that was dope. Not only was I able to just attend that conference, but I was selected into a cohort of 25, BIPOC individuals in the, honestly, I think throughout the nation, who all were able to come and be able to get an experience to be able to attend the
You got to
ULI
explain what
conference.
BIPOC is. I don't think it's.
So
I don't
BIPOC,
think.
I believe it's Black Indigenous People of Color. I think that I'm
Okay.
familiar. Yeah, so Black Indigenous People of Color. But long and the short, the ULI conference also not copied, was inspired by our AREP LA, South LA tour that we took, in which then we were able to go and show our property at Landon Park Capital, and so on and so on and so forth. I say all that to say that this past week I was able to attend the conference. I mean, we had an AREP event, we had a Real Rumba event, then I had a Pathways to Inclusion dinner, and then I'm meeting all kind of people and having conversations. But that comes with my confidence to be able to go and say, "Hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? I'm Bryce." Like that's all it takes sometimes. And I think that some people, it may not necessarily be in their personality. But I say if you're gonna be in this business, you gotta at least be able to say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Bryce." Here go, you know what I'm saying? Well, this is, like, you gotta at least be able to introduce yourself to somebody, and you never know which way the conversation will take itself. So I would just say, kind of to summarize, man, learn the market, be very abreast of the market, be consistent with your brand, and then go out and network. You gotta go find people.
Okay. That is actually all very good advice. I actually saw you at the event across the room.
Yeah.
It was I was in there networking my butt off,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it was fun. And then it's funny too because I'm such an introvert and being and having to be in an environment like that and
Man.
talking, work the room. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is cool. But
Yeah.
boy, when I came home, I was like, all right.
Man,
But
I was tired for the next couple of days. I ain't gonna lie. I was at the welcome, at the welcome booth, just shaking hands, shaking hands, kissing babies, I guess you could say, at the front. So by the time that I got home that night, I was like, man, I'm toast. I'm tired.
Yeah, see, we
Yeah,
were on the same page,
for sure.
100%. So we
Absolutely.
got about 5 minutes left, but
Yep.
before wrapping up, I did want to
Hmm.
ask you, you mentioned your wife earlier, and you
Yep.
mentioned how uh your mother-in-law promotes you on LinkedIn as
Yep.
well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so with that said, I know they're proud of you
Oh
and
yeah,
everything. So
for
so
sure.
what do they say about your career and the path
Right.
that you took?
Yeah, that's cool, man. First and foremost, man, my wife is my everything. That's my boo, man. We've been together since the first month of freshman year of high school, and been best friends ever since. So she has been a huge help just as to who I am today. It's truly been an inspirational. My wife was down here in Southern California. I went to during college up there and played football. Then I came down here and we got married in the whole 10. She went to go get her master's degree. I said, hold on, I'm going to go get my master's degree. And so she's just been dope. And she now takes a little bit more pride to being like, oh yeah, he works for a real estate investment firm. Like she now knows how to say that. But and my mother-in-law, she is jokes, and so funny. But she's like, he is now corporate king. He is, all things business. Sometimes I gotta close the door and have a meeting like this or whatever the case may be. She's like, oh no, let me go ahead and help him. Let him get his time. But it's so funny you asked that question. Still to this day, whenever I say, I'm saying that I'm in real estate, a lot of people just think that they correlate that with like, oh, you sell houses, and I'm just like, nah, I don't sell houses. So it's hard sometimes to like tell people what you actually do. And it's just like, no, I work for a real estate investment company that buys multifamily, apartments in this area. You know what I'm saying? So but nonetheless, it's fun. It's fun to be able to kind of tell people a little bit about what you do. And once you tell them what you do, then they be like, "Oh, you do something like." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm on." You know what I'm saying? So it's dope, man. It's awesome. I really enjoy it.
A lot of times I have that same like, oh, I'm a real estate. Like, I was thinking about buying a house, and I'm like, that's nice. I actually
Cool.
don't have the first. I have no clue how to tell you how to do it, but
Right.
congratulations.
Yeah. This was like, nah,
But,
I don't.
and then, I gotta tell them too that, okay, I work in commercial real estate and, I
Right.
specialize in retail. So,
Yeah.
that whole house thing, I could probably
Right.
refer you to somebody, but
Right. Right.
I'm not the guy or the girl
Yeah.
rather.
It's funny, what I'm saying, still to this day sometimes my wife's friends or somebody that she know would be like, "Oh, does Bryce have any houses that he could like that he's looking at selling or whatever?" I'm like, "Look, that's not my jam, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, it's all good, man." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a lot of information and everything. So we got about a minute or two left on the clock. Did you want to leave with any pointers, advice, shout outs?
Man, first and foremost, big shout out. I said I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it till the cows come home. Big shout out to my wife, huge supporter, just of me and everything that I got going on. But then on top of that, my family, love them a ton. I had multiple different real estate competitions and this, that, and the other that they all came down and saw this past year. But also big shout out to my boss Malcolm. I mean, he's a dope dude, super smart, very supportive. One of those guys in which like you see him around and you want to get around him and you want to be able to learn from him. And so I get an awesome opportunity to learn from him on a regular basis. And then just all of my company at Landon Park Capital. We got a dope group, and I think that we're really doing something. So if you know anybody who wants to, who's got 100+ units somewhere out in who wants to be able to shine some light on us and whatever we do it, or you connect us with somebody, we're always interested in finding out the best opportunity to make sure we're impacting the communities that we're abreast in. So yeah, thanks again, Jacqueline. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Bryce, and thank you everybody who joined me today on another episode of Powerhouse U, a platform where we focus on commercial real estate investing and business development. So until next time, I'll talk to you again soon.